That was very odd. But it's been an odd morning. It's pretty hysterical over here. We're getting calls from just about everybody about everything. So I'm going to move as quickly as I can through this call. It's all going to be pretty good news as far as I'm concerned. And hopefully this long trek that we've all been on will be over shortly. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. Today's December 11th, 2024. A lot's going on, and I think the next 30 days are going to be very, very interesting. Before I begin, I want to mention that we had a glitch with our website, and it did go down unbeknownst to us until we were notified of that. My understanding is that it's either back up or it will be back up very shortly, so we apologize for that glitch. We've had pretty good sailing for the number of years we've been involved, but recently there have been a couple of issues when we've tried to upgrade the website and make a few changes, but as I said, it's either back up or it will be very shortly. I will check right after this call. There is a lot going on. I could be on this call for some length of time. I'm going to avoid that and try to summarize everything. I do try to bottom line the information for people. I know you're busy. You've got other things to do. Some people like to talk interminably. I don't like to do that. I like to just get into the information and move on, so let's get started. First, I want to mention the fact that we have a president-elect, Donald Trump, and the guy's basically crushing it. He's doing all manner of things so that he hits the ground running, and that's welcome considering the fact that the current administration seems to be AWOL, and to the extent that they do anything, it's counterproductive. So it's time for them to move on, and history will judge what they've done. People keep calling me here. I don't know why, but hold on one second. Okay. So let's start with President Trump. He recently made a call to Prime Minister Soudani. There are a lot of things that could have been involved in that call. One of the things, of course, would be the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. Trump is a dinarian. He knows that a lot of Americans are dinarians, but most importantly, it's estimated that the Treasury Department holds 4 trillion dinar. So an increase in the value of the dinar will increase in the reserves of the United States, and Trump might be in the position to substantially reduce our debt, although he may be reducing it not by paying it off, but by another method, which I will discuss as we go on in this call. I want to move now to Soudani, because let's not forget, Soudani made a solemn promise that the citizens of Iraq would have real purchasing power by the end of this year. In my opinion, a reinstatement is most likely in January of next year, but all of the groundwork could be laid this year, so Soudani could say that we've done everything necessary in order for the Iraqi citizen to enjoy real purchasing power, and that will occur very shortly. And that's the way I see this playing out. This, of course, is just my opinion. But Soudani and Alak, Soudani being the prime minister of Iraq and Alak being the governor of the central bank, have been following Dr. Shabibi's protocol for monetary reform, which is to reestablish both security and stability in Iraq. And that means primarily removing the undue and corrupt influence of Iran. And they've made great strides toward that, to the point now where it's Iran that's coming to Iraq hat in hand. So that's good news. Now, yesterday, December 10th, was Victory Day. This was the day that Soudani wanted the parliament to pass all laws to include the budget tables and amendments, the HCL, and Article 140. Okay, the budget amendments, of course, have to do with some of the specifics regarding the budget, in my opinion, inclusive of an exchange rate. The HCL, which had to do with the distribution of revenues to the citizens, and Article 140, which had to do with the de-Arabization of Kurdistan, which was done courtesy of Saddam Hussein. And it is a little interesting that we have not heard much from Barzani lately, who was the president of Kurdistan. So these are the things that Soudani wanted to get done. However, given the comments made by Soudani and then echoed by Alak, I do not think that they're going to be deterred by the corrupt members of the parliament to continue to drag their feet on progress in Iraq. We know that Soudani has said that he will make sure that the auctions stop by December 31st. He said that they will establish a new mechanism for transfers within the central bank. What I think that means is they won't be going through the U.S. Treasury, but they will be dealing directly. Also, Soudani is going to be sponsoring an international meeting in Baghdad for hundreds of international leaders and officials. Makes no sense for him to have a meeting to say, I'm glad you're all here. I want to let you know that Iraq is going to continue to operate with their program rate. So that makes no sense at all. I think what Soudani is going to do is he's going to keep his word and he's going to end the auctions. He's going to establish that mechanism so that Iraq could deal directly with other countries. And he's sponsoring this meeting to let individuals know that Iraq is going to proceed with or without the parliament, and they'll proceed with an operational budget, and they'll be doing so with a new exchange rate. Now, all an operational budget means is rather than the parliament getting together, deciding what all of their expenditures for the year are going to be, deciding what their revenues are going to be, or projecting the revenues to let them know whether there's going to be a surplus or a deficit. Basically, what Soudani is saying is we're going to pay as we go. Well, that makes no sense to me unless the underlying assumption is we'll pay as we go because we will have a new exchange rate and I will have the money to do what's necessary. And if Parliament doesn't want to cooperate, then we'll just move without them. Parliament has literally made themselves irrelevant by the nonsense that they continue with. So we're in a very good place. Personally, I do not see this thing happening before December 31st, but I would love to be wrong, and I'll be the first one to get on air and say, hey, I was wrong. We got it done in December. I really think the actual announced rate on the Forex will occur in January, but all the groundwork will be laid at the end of the year, and the last domino to fall will be the permanent end to the auctions, which will be completely unnecessary. That's pretty much what I had to say for today. But there's some other things that are going on in this country that are very important. Those of us that have dinar and some of these other currencies, we've been following this saga for literally decades. But President-elect Trump, just from the things that the salvos that he sent out since his reelection, is basically saying this country is going to enter a completely new age. Now, I can't predict with specificity the future. I'm not the Oracle of Delphi. But what I can do is make some educated guesses based on the information at hand and the things that Trump is saying and doing. For example, President-elect Trump is repeatedly saying that we're going to enter a new golden age. I mentioned this on an earlier call. Now, because I'm a student of politics and history, I know what he's referring to, although most people don't. But the United States did have a golden age, and it was the period of time the United States became a superpower. And that golden age was referred to as the Gilded Age. It occurred roughly between 1880 and 1910. It was a period of great wealth and economic growth for the United States. And it made the United States basically a superpower. But something happened. There was a fly in the ointment in 1913, courtesy of President Woodrow Wilson, the first really, truly progressive president. Other presidents have referred to themselves as progressives, but Woodrow Wilson was, which is also why, in my opinion, he was absolutely, bar none, the worst president of the United States, even worse than the current occupant. And in 1913, created the Federal Reserve and the federal income tax. What is the Federal Reserve? Well, it's not federal and it's not a reserve. It's a central bank, and it was the third one established in the United States. In other words, a progressive walked away from the Constitution. Now, when we hear the word progressive, we think in terms of its generic, to progress, to improve, to get better, to evolve. But that's not how the word was used. The progressive movement began in the early 20th century, and the reason they used the word progress is because their objective was to progress beyond the colloquial constraints of the Constitution. In other words, they didn't like the limitation that the people placed on the government. They wanted the reverse. They wanted the government to have unfettered power, and if anyone was to be limited into their rights, it would be the people. So they created the Federal Reserve, a private corporation, and rather than print people's money, again, pursuant to Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, interest-free money, we had to borrow the money from the Federal Reserve and pay interest on that money. So in order to have the money that we need to purchase goods and services, we had to borrow that money at interest from the Federal Reserve. There was absolutely, positively, unequivocally no good reason for the establishment of a central bank other than maintaining control of the people. If you control the money and you lend people the money, then you enrich yourselves, you enrich the bankers, and you enrich the politicians who borrow the money from the Federal Reserve and sprinkle it on the right people that take good care of them. As an example, in 1913, when the Federal Reserve was established, the amount of goods and services you could purchase for $100 would cost you today $2,150. In other words, the Federal Reserve that was supposed to control inflation over the last 100 years has created 2,000% inflation. Now, why am I saying all of this? Again, I'm going back to what President-elect Trump has said. We're creating a new golden age. Well, how is he going to do that? Well, he's given us some hints. First, he's announced that there are going to be no tax on tips. There's going to be no tax on overtime, and there's going to be no tax on Social Security. He's beginning to cut the allowance of the Federal Reserve. No tax on tips is important because a lot of people are eking a living by, they're living on tips. So not taxing those tips helps them out. Not taxing overtime does what? It helps to increase production. If people can make tax-free money working overtime, they will work overtime. If they work overtime, what does that mean? It means an increase in the production of goods and services. An increase in the production of goods and services means a reduction in the price. This is how he's going to fight inflation as well. Lastly, no tax on Social Security. Unfortunately, a lot of people are living on Social Security. And by not taxing Social Security, it gives them substantial help. Now, when Social Security was established, it was not taxed. But a senator introduced a bill to tax Social Security. That senator's name was Joe Biden. This guy's a bad penny that keeps popping up. But it gets even worse because the United States, in years where Democratic control and higher spending was in vogue, decided that they were going to literally rob the Social Security Trust Fund in order to spend that money. So people that are paying Social Security, who have been told for decades that that money was going into a trust fund and your money was going to be earmarked for you within that trust fund, now what's in that trust fund? Not money, a government IOU for that money. It's like fiat currency. It's merely a promise to pay from a government that's $36 trillion in debt. Let me put it to you this way. If someone came to you for a personal loan and you asked them, well, why do you want to borrow money from me? Because I can't pay any of my bills and I've defaulted on all my other personal loans. Would you want to lend that person money? No. Well, why would the federal government do that? It makes no sense. But there's something else President-elect Trump's going to do. And it's interesting that all of this is happening at precisely the same time that those of us that have dinar and other currencies are expecting those currencies to revalue. There's so many things going on at the same time. Iraq is in a position to reinstitute its currency. The Vietnamese are in a position to reinstitute their currency. Globally, we're going through Basel compliance, which is a transition away from fiat-based currencies, which is merely a promise to pay from a government, to commodity-backed currencies. And we have a president of the United States who, based on everything he said, in my opinion, is going to audit the Fed to expose all of the corruption as a preemptive strike in order to justify ending the Federal Reserve and returning to the people's money pursuant to Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. All of these things are happening simultaneously. I've been a student of history and politics my entire adult life, and I've never seen anything like this before. Everything's moving in the right direction, and this is why, in my opinion, we're going to see the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar in January, if not sooner. Now, once we reach that stage, of course, we're all going to be greatly relieved. We're going to realize that the wait and the patience have been worth it. We've all got our laundry list of things that we want to do. But we have to be a little realistic about this, because when this occurs, when the RI and the RV occur, this is going to be a windfall. And the truth of the matter is 95% of all windfalls are gone within 3 to 5 years. Why? Due to inexperience, falling prey to scams, failure to pay taxes in a timely fashion, and the number one loss of wealth, litigation. And in order to protect yourself certainly from the litigation, in order to learn a lot about the other issues, the best thing you can do is establish our Family Asset Protection Trust package. It's a package that wealthy individuals have used literally for decades to protect their wealth. The trust package provides benefits that are not available through any other possible entity. LLCs can't do it. Corporations can't do it. Sub-S corporations can't do it. Limited family partnerships can't do it. Individual trusts can't do it. The only thing that can provide the protection you need are Family Asset Protection Trust packages. What benefits does the package provide? Well, first, by establishing our package and assigning the currencies to that package, you will protect your privacy and your anonymity. Once you go to the bank to exchange these currencies, no one will know that you possess this wealth because it's already in trust. Second, the package will allow you to avoid IRS scrutiny. You are merely the beneficiary and the recipient of the benefits within the package, but all of the business activities are occurring within the trust. The IRS is much less likely to audit a complex trust than they are an individual. Third, trust allows you to do pre-RV gifting, meaning you can gift currencies to family and friends, and you will have control of the post-RV proceeds. Now, if you're in a situation where you have no problem giving them the currency and fending for themselves, that's fine. But we've had individuals contact us and say, I'd love to give currencies to certain individuals, but for any number of reasons, I'm just not comfortable that they can manage this post-RV, the proceeds. Well, then gift it to them through the trust. You'll be able to avoid the federal gift tax by gifting through the trust, but you'll also have control of the post-RV proceeds. In addition, after the revaluation, after the establishment of your trust, you can gift the use of other assets to family and friends like cars and homes by establishing these things within the trust so they have the use of the asset, but you still own it because it's in trust. The fourth benefit is you're going to be able to avoid the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. Because your assets are in trust, there will be no probate, meaning that there will be no public disclosure of your estate, how much it's worth, who your heirs are, how much each stands to inherit. The trust will also allow you to avoid the federal estate tax. This is the tax that's assessed in order for assets to be transferred to heirs. Under current law, the federal estate tax can be as much as 65% of your estate in excess of $12 million. However, the assets are in trust, you bypass probate, there is no federal estate tax, and your heirs will receive 100 cents on the dollar of their inheritance. Lastly, this trust provides certain asset protection benefits that are only available through a trust. Pre-RV, this trust will allow you to avoid something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Very simply, let me explain how that works. You have $10 million dinar. They're worth $10 million. You assign the currencies to our trust package. They eventually revalue for, let's say, $1, $10 million. Can you be sued for $10 million? No. Why? Because the currency was only worth $10,000 when you transferred them out of trust. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you've acquired this wealth. This protection is accomplished through something called segregation of assets, and this is why you establish a package of trust. So as you purchase these items, or as you transfer items you own right now to this trust, each physical asset, home, car, boat, goes into a separate, segregated subtrust. Well, why would that be the case? Well, let's say you're driving your car, you have an accident, the accident's your fault. Well, the injured individual is going to want to sue you, but you don't own anything, so they're left to sue the owner of the car. Well, who owns that car? Well, it's subtrusts. And what's in that subtrust? Merely that one car and the car insurance policy. In that scenario, the car insurance carrier will negotiate an out-of-court settlement with the victim. You will not be involved in those negotiations, and all of your other assets are in separate trusts, not involved with the accident and not owned by you. Therefore, the plaintiff would have no standing to go after those assets. So this is how you preserve your wealth. The package of trusts work very much the way a commercial barge would work, where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. So in the event that any compartment is ever breached, the only potential loss would be the cargo in that one compartment. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls, and the barge will never sink. Now, I'm moving quickly through this call because I have gotten, without exaggeration, 5 phone calls while I'm trying to do this call. So we don't need the business, but we do need to explain to people why they need to establish this trust package prior to the revaluation of these currencies. The This is a trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But by simplifying the package and mass marketing it to denarians, we've been able to reduce the cost to $2,500. If you pay us up front, we've actually reduced the price to $3,000, but if you pay us up front, we'll discount the price to $2,500. We do have a deferred payment arrangement, and with that arrangement, you would pay the full $3,000. But again, if you pay us up front, we reduce the price by $500, and it would be $2,500. I'm going to give you our contact information, and I am going to go to a Q&A, although I can't stay on too long. But I would strongly suggest you get our initial package. It does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed with the establishment of your family asset protection trust, but you're under no obligation to do so. It has a lot of information about us, about trusts, how they work, and you can review the package. Contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. Again, if you wish to proceed, everything you need is included in the package. If you'd like to get our initial package, you can contact us either by email or by phone. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimited LLC at gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited LLC at gmail.com. And our phone service is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Now I want to go ahead to the Q&A here. Let's see. For some reason, there are no questions in the Q&A. I thought I saw some. Here's one question in the Q&A. Phone number here is this thing keeps moving. Hold on one second. This thing's going crazy. First call here is 804. That's 804. Go ahead. Hello, 804. Are you there?
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Yes. Is this Randall?
Yes.
Well, go ahead. What can I do for you?
So I just got one question. When you put money in a trust, what if you need money to live, to pay something off, or how does that work? And when you put your money in the trust? The trust will have, of course, a bank account and savings accounts and investment accounts. So anytime you need money, you have a checking account that you can draw on. What most individuals do is they will have monthly amounts automatically transferred from their trust bank account to their personal account. So they have their debit card and they have checks, writing privileges, and the liquidity and everything they need. So there's absolutely no problem with accessing your money at any time and for any reason. Okay? Okay, our next caller is area code. Hang on one sec. This thing is really getting weird on me today. Next caller is area code 615. That's 615. Go ahead.
I think your phone system has been in the holiday sauce there, Jim.
I don't know what's going. You should see with the screen; it's jumping all around. Whenever I go to scroll to something, it moves away. It's like it's like a computer game. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, what can I do? Who is this?
It's kind of a follow up to I just heard the last part of the question. But one thing that's been occurring to me is if we own the trust, we transfer the assets into the trust, but we want to take money out as you just described. Does that money to us become taxable? And it would.
It depends.
If so, that would seem to me that we would. Pardon?
No, the trust has to pay taxes on a quarterly basis on interest and dividends earned. So you presumably, if you're taking money out
for that should be paid in taxes, then of course there won't be sufficient funds to pay the tax. So that's something you've got to be mindful of. It's no different than when you're earning interest on your personal account. You know that it's taxable. So if you spend all of it, then you got to have to come up with the tax at the end of the year. So it's no different than that.
Okay, I understand that. I was thinking more along the lines of if you were taking a monthly allowance out of that depletes the trust. And I agree with what you just said. But is the amount that you take out in the form of, say, a monthly fixed figure, is that going to be taxable to us as individuals?
Well, let me put it this way. Let's say you're the settlor of the trust and I'm the trustee. And let's say hypothetically you're earning $10,000 a month in interest and dividends, okay? And you say to me, Jim, I want you to send me $10,000 a month. And I'm going to say, well, I'm the trustee. So you have to understand that you're going to have to reimburse the trust for the tax money. What I suggest you do is maybe take $8,000 and leave the rest of it so that I can pay the quarterly taxes, because those taxes have to be paid. So you don't want to take 100 cents on the dollar out. You want to take an amount that you know leaves enough to pay the taxes on the gain.
So if you have to take it back, can you take it out in the form of a loan?
Well, you probably could do that, but you're one of those people that likes to complicate things.
No, I just have a curious mind.
That's a precursor for complicating things when you ask a lot of questions. Yes, you could do that. There's such thing as strip-out loans where people borrow money interminably in order to avoid the tax, and you could do that. But I would say live within your means. If you are receiving $10,000 a month in dividends and interest from your trust as a result of wise investments you made, why would you do the unwise thing of spending it all when you know you've got to pay taxes on it, or taking out a loan that you're never going to be able to pay off? I mean, that's kind of what the federal government's doing.
Yeah. No, I'm not suggesting that. I think that's irresponsible. I'm just talking about, the funds that would flow to you as the owner. Is that if the trust is taxed and you draw money aside from that tax, do you pay tax on it either? It just seems to me like double taxation on the same dollars. That's my question.
Yeah. But once again, you're in the weeds. I just hate to be oversimplistic about it, but just don't spend money that's earmarked for taxes. And taking loans and things like that defers. You're creating a unnecessary problem. If you're a denarian, you made more money than you in most of your life beyond your wildest dreams. Why would you do anything? I always say to people, invest wisely, live within your means, pay your taxes in a timely fashion, and just thank the Lord that you happened to pick up on the Iraqi dinar before it revalued. This is why windfalls always end up being lost in relatively short periods of time, because people just go haywire and they spend without thinking. And so once this money comes in, that's really when the heavy lifting begins. What you're going to sell, what you're going to keep, how you're going to invest, how much risk are you going to take, who are you going to help, what charities are you going to work with, what kind of cash flow do I want, what's the net cash flow that I know I can spend. All of these things you're going to have to be dealing with post-RV, and this is one of the issues.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. I believe in responsibility. I was just trying to get an answer to one part of it.
Yeah. You'll ascertain your tax, what the tax will be, and you just don't spend the money that's earmarked for taxes.
Do we know how trusts are taxed?
You will know, because we'll deal with that. The trust is taxed pretty close to the ordinary income tax. This trust. So as I said, if the
if you get $10,000 a month coming in, and you know the taxes are $2,000, that leaves $8,000. So say, okay, send me $7,500 a month. I know that I have enough money to pay the tax and a little left over. So on a quarterly basis, the tax is paid. You never have to worry about it.
Got it. One last thing. You mentioned that some other currencies were expected to revalue over some period of time after the dinar, and you mentioned the dong. Is there others?
Well, there are other, currencies out there in a program rate, pre-valued currencies people have invested in. I think the one that's most likely is the dong. People always ask the question, well, the dong's been in a program rate for forever, and they've managed to survive. Well, they were in a closed house with China, so they were trading with China. But recently, of course, and the country's grown. I mean, there's a lot going on in Vietnam. They have large oil reserves. They have a plant that's very good for a sugar substitute. They're beginning to produce internally. So now they're experimenting and reaching out to try to trade, rather than trading just with China, they're trying to trade with other countries. Well, this is indicative of their belief that their currency is going to reinstitute shortly, too. I think the dinar is going to kick off a lot of other things, and one of them, in my opinion, is going to be the revaluation and reinstitution of the dong.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Certainly. Take care. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 479. That's 479. Go ahead.
Merry Christmas to you, Jim, and everybody out there that's left on the call. So the way I understand it is we have one more call with you, and you're done for the year?
That I hope I'm done, period. I hope we're all done, but that'll be the case. And as a matter of fact, that's going to fall. Well, let's see. That's the 18th. I might have two more calls. I'll definitely have one more. If I'm going to have a second one, I will announce that on my next call. But hopefully, we'll be talking about banks before the end of the year. And not rehashing a lot of this information.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to ask you, in the past phone calls, you had mentioned that the banks had been calling you and you have a great rapport with the banks. Is that something that when we get ready to redeem our currencies, will you have a list of banks for us to go to, or can you share that with us? Or
I'm sure a lot of people are going to be running to the bank with their hair on fire to at least exchange some of their currency. But once the dinar hits the 4X, then I'm going to drop everything, get on the phone, call these banks, and basically try to say, give me an offer. We have X number of clients. They have, on average, X amount of dinar. What can you do? What above and beyond what you would ordinarily do. And then we'll get that information out to you. But as I said, I understand completely. A lot of people are just going to run to the bank. They've already talked to some banks. They're listening to other people that are telling them what banks to go to, and they'll at least exchange some of their currency just to, a lot of people, they have debts. They were hoping this happened a lot sooner. We have one client that has 500 million dinar, 500 million dong, and we have clients that literally are so desperate that they want to sell some of their currency just to have money to survive. So, I've seen every situation, and for a lot of reasons, I think people are understandably going to run to the bank just to exchange some of their currency, just to as a relief valve. So I will do the best I can as quickly as I can.
You weren't supposed to tell everybody how much dinar I had.
No, you could be either of the scenarios that I gave.
Part. Yeah, down in the peasant part. So there's rumors out there that some people will get substantially more money for their currencies if they have certain trusts set up. Do you know anything about that?
Well, what I've heard is some banks will spice the pot a little bit if you set their trust up. But the problem is
And as a matter of fact, one of the things I send out with our package is beware of bank trusts. What they'll do is they'll exchange your currency, and when the currency's in their bank, then they'll move it to the trust. Well, now you're on the grid. The whole purpose of the trust is to assign the currencies to the trust pre-RV, do your exchange, have the money go into the trust right away, so you never took constructive receipt of the funds. They went to the trust, and you're off the grid. So the banks either don't know what they're doing or they don't care. It's just about control of the money. So let me put it to you this way. Banks have the worst track record for investments. If you look at, hedge funds and other investment firms, banks are dead last, and they're always dead last because, unfortunately, with the bank, it's about the bank. It's just the way it is. They're not bad people. That's just how they're set up. Okay, so my money's going to be out of the bank as quick. As a matter of fact, one of the things you're going to want to negotiate, you want to make it absolutely crystal clear to them: no 21-day hold on their money, max 10 days. In 10 days, I want 100% of my money. Things like that. Those are more important to me than talking to their little dog and pony show with their mutual, bank in-house mutual funds that are terrible performers. Just not interested in. I don't like banks. I guess you're picking up on that.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for doing these calls. And I may try to call your cell phone a little bit later today. I had one other question I don't want to ask on the air.
Well, hold on one sec. Let me write your phone number down here. I can give you a quick call when this call's over.
Sure.
I want to make sure I got a lot of numbers here. I don't want to get the wrong number. Okay, I will give you a call.
479. Okay.
I got it.
Yes,
I
sir.
got it. All right. Talk to you soon. All right.
Thank
bye-bye.
you very much. Okay, bye.
Sure. Our next call is area code 954. That's 954. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. How you doing? Merry Christmas.
Okay. Same to you.
This is Hector. Good, thank you.
Yes.
Hey, actually, my question was, I think, already answered. I just wanted to be 100% clear. Anything the taxation, because for what I understand, we always talk about hoping that, this happens at the beginning of a quarter, so we have plenty of time to do the exchange at the best possible rate. Once it's done and we pay the taxes, we're assuming for now it's going to be like income tax, worst case. And that money is taxable. Let's say you have $10 million there when you change it. Well, those $10 million have already been taxed. You pay your taxes. You're done with it. Why, when I pull $10,000, I have to pay taxes again? The taxes should be paid on the profits that money continues to generate if I decide to invest it. But let's say, which is not the case, it will be done. Let's say I leave my $10 million there, and I start withdrawing $10,000. That shouldn't be taxed at all.
Wait a minute. You talking about if you don't exchange the currency?
No. You exchange it. You pay the taxes, as we always said, but regular income tax. That money, whatever that is, $10 million, $100 million, is already being taxed. Let's say I don't invest anything, which obviously I will, but let's say I don't. That money that's sitting there has already been taxed. If I go and pull $100, why would I pay taxes on the $100? It's already been taxed.
You wouldn't. If you've already paid taxes, you wouldn't. And if you don't,
okay.
If you pay the taxes on the profit from the exchange, the only thing that would be taxed thereafter would be the tax on the interest and dividends earned if you subsequently reinvest that money. If you do not invest that money and it just sits there, there's no tax to be paid.
Exactly. Okay, that's what I thought. I'm just only 100% clear. I think you said that towards the end.
Yeah. My question to you is, if I had $10 million, $50 million, $100 million, why wouldn't I invest it?
No. We're clear. Well, I'm going to invest it. I just wanted to clarify why was it being taxed again? Because in the beginning of that first question, that wasn't addressed. It wasn't addressed towards the end, and I just want to be 100% clear.
Yeah.
But no, of course it will be invested. By no means. But okay. And the other thing that we touched on that before is because we're looking to get the maximum possible rate, but at the same time we have to pay the taxes. Let's say you have 10 million dinars. Well, you can exchange enough. Probably, if it's going to be taxed at the worst case scenario, around 45% altogether.
Right.
Then obviously we got.
I understand. You're talking about tax payment management. I understand that. All that's going to be, that will depend on when the thing happens. If this thing hits on December 25th, then we have a problem. If it hits on January 5th, we're golden. It's just that simple.
Correct. I know why. But what I was saying is, I want to break it down. Let's say it happened in the beginning of January. We got plenty of time to have the whole quarter, basically. You're literally forced to exchange at least half of it because the taxes are going to be around 45%. So you don't have a choice. Yeah, you're forced to cash out at least half.
But if it happened in the first month of the quarter, you have at least 60 days before the tax would be due.
Exactly.
So you wouldn't have to. Right. So you wouldn't have to.
And that is my point. We have the whole quarter to play with it.
Right.
We don't have to exchange anything at all until towards the end of the quarter, correct?
Correct.
But let's say towards the end of the quarter, you're forced to cash at least half of it to have enough to cover the tax and a little bit left over. But then the other portion that you haven't exchanged, let's say in that time, the currency shoot up and you want to do something crazy, 5, 6, 7, who knows? And then you exchange the rest at a higher rate. Then you worry about the taxes for that portion and that second quarter, correct? And only on that second portion, because the first portion you already pay taxes, correct?
No. Any profit that you realize by the end of the quarter. So let's use your example. You have $10 million dinar. You get $1 for it. You have $10 million. You're saying, okay, I made $10 million, so I'm going to exchange $450,000 of it to pay the tax. Now I have $550,000. Well, if that accrues and appreciates before the end of the quarter, you then have to pay taxes on that gain as well.
Okay, before that same quarter?
Because you still earned more profit.
But we're talking within the same quarter. We're talking about the same quarter, correct?
Every penny of profit that you make in a given quarter, you have to pay taxes on that the 15th day of the first month of the next quarter. So if you liquidate enough to pay the initial tax, let's say the thing revalues in January, okay? So you set aside, you have the money to pay the tax for the profit. But if it continues to appreciate, whatever it's worth at the end of that quarter, you still have to pay taxes on that.
Of course. Yeah, I would not do it in the beginning. I would do it towards the end of the quarter, basically. Towards the end of the quarter, hopefully, there's not much different in the last few days. But what I'm saying is...
I know, but I'm saying if you have 5.5 million dinar, you could earn, $10, $25, $50, $100,000 in the last week of a quarter. You still have to pay those taxes, too.
Which is fine. My question is, let's move to the next quarter, and I save half of my dinars, roughly 5.5, a little over 50% of the dinars, and then it shoot up in the second quarter, and that's when I go exchange and I get even more. The first portion has already been taxed. That's done.
Yes.
I'm only paying taxes on that second profit, let's say, round of profit.
Right. You're right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. Clear enough.
All right.
I had the idea. I want to make sure, but Well, thank you very much. That answers the question.
I can assure you, we're going to be talking to some tax professionals to make absolutely sure, because I know that the new Trump administration is going to be making some changes, but until that happens, we're beholden to the system now. So
I can only assume you mentioned that. You mentioned that Trump is denying. So I would assume. I mean, it might be a conflict of interest, but I would assume he's going to be leaning to better laws and then better taxation of these money.
Absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Okay, that's all a good thing. Hopefully, he can make it. He can make it to be taxed as a capital gain the way it should be. Hopefully.
That's one of the reasons why we want it early in the quarter, which gives us enough time to go to the IRS and petition them to call it cap gain.
Okay. Perfect.
All right.
Yeah. Hopefully. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye now. Our next caller Whenever we talk about taxes, it gets complicated. I apologize for that. Let's see, where are we going now? We're going to number 808. That's 808. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, Jim. My question is, if you do not have dinars, but you have the other currencies, that still makes sense to get the trust, right?
Well, yeah, it makes sense to get the trust if you don't have any currencies and you have wealth that you want to protect. But the reason we were marketing to denarians is because you're in a very good position. You possess an asset that you know is going to increase substantially in wealth. So it's advantageous under current tax law to transfer the asset to the trust before it increases in value. But if you're any person of means at all, I guess if you have a net worth of $1 million or more, it makes very good sense to set up a family asset protection trust so that as you acquire more wealth, no one knows about it. And, of course, it makes it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for anyone to successfully sue you.
Okay, so I'm right. And so I've been trying to tell people that have but don't understand, this trust thing. And so I've spent the last all this time that we've been on this and waiting for this thing to protect what you have because our country is going nuts. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that our website is up. If it's not, it will be up very shortly. But you can suggest to them that they go to our website because there is a lot of information that explains all of this. But again, as a matter of fact, I got a message here from the individual handling the website, but I'm not good with phones, so I'm afraid to try to listen to that message because I'll end up dropping this call. So, but I would suggest they just go to our website. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much, Jim, for all these years of being there faithfully for us and keeping us there. I truly appreciate you. You have a good Christmas, and hopefully we're blessed at the end of the year, or like I said, the first of the year, so we can go into that next quarter.
Well, thanks for your kind words. God bless, and Merry Christmas to you, too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Our next caller is area code 805. That's 805. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. This is Brian from Southern California. Listen,
yes, sir.
I think you've answered my questions about the taxation, which really the question I had. So I think between the 3 or 4 callers, I got my question answered. Just want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and I hope you get to enjoy some time with the family and relax a little bit. Thanks for everything you do.
Same to you, brother. Thank you very much. God bless, and have a great Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Next caller is area code. These numbers keep jumping around. I don't know what is going on here. Area code is 301. That's 301. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. It's Larry from Maryland.
Yes, sir.
Question about the auctions. When they end, does that leave the government in a position where are they essentially forced to revow, or could they go on? I mean, assuming they end on the 31st, or could they go on and, whenever they just decide to revow, they could vow late January, February? Is that significant enough that we would see it January 1st?
Well, remember, the reason they had the auctions was because the citizens needed the USD in order to survive, to purchase goods and services, because their currency was in a program rate. It was basically worthless. But then they outlawed the use of the dollar, so the citizens have basically been operating with whatever dinar they've been able to squirrel away. And once the auctions end, even the government won't be using the USD. So basically the U.S. dollar, the only position the U.S. dollar would have in Iraq is to the extent that the central bank holds any USD as a reserve currency. So they'll be completely and totally off the dollar. So what is the government going to use? They're going to have to use their own currency as well. Well, they can't use it in a program rate. So to me, in my opinion, the end of the auction is the birth of the Iraqi dinar.
Okay, so it is as likely that we could see this the 1st of January or whatever
It could happen before then, but that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking it's going to happen in January. And one of the other things is, unfortunately, the Parliament is doing everything they can to drag their feet. These Iranian sympathetic individuals that are in the Parliament are somehow, some way, obviously profiting from the status quo because they're doing everything they can. They lost the war when it came to maintaining the status quo into perpetuity. So the next best thing is to try to retain the status quo as long as possible. Soudani wanted it over by December 10th, but basically what I think is happening is he's dropping the hammer on December 31st. I actually think that if the Parliament continues with their obstructionist behavior, I actually think he's going to start arresting people because I just don't see how they can continue to do what they're doing. So that's why my backstop's January.
And he has the authority to finish this, and as you've been saying, the only recourse that's of any actual substance for the country is to finish it. They can't stay here or they're failed.
No. They can't do it. Well, look at they have all these currency swaps with the dinar with other countries. They've entered in memorandums of understanding and all these contracts to rebuild their infrastructure. Well, they have 120 million USD reserve. That's not enough. That doesn't even come close to the money they need. They have two options: reinstate their currency, or their failed nation state. I don't see mathematically how there's any other option. They just can't continue what they're doing. They've been on this treadmill for 20 years, and the battery's dead. They're out of gas.
And the currency exchanges end December 31st. He said that. So, I mean, it's January 1st is a significant time frame for them.
Well,
one way
I'll be honest with you. The worst day in the world for this to hit from us would be December 31st.
December 31st.
Because that means taxes as an American citizen would be due January 15th. I mean, you could go to the bank. You could finally get an appointment at a bank on January 11th or 12th, and they put a 10-day hold on your money. Hey, my taxes are due on the 15th. I can't help you, buddy. See, so, to be honest with you, I don't want to see it till January. I know there are people that want it tomorrow. Personally, for myself, if it was my call, I'd say, what's the first Monday in January? That's when I want to see it.
And do they have the same, I mean, as far as like with the days, is the first a holiday for them, or they operate on their own calendar?
Well, their Sunday is our Monday. But I'm saying personally for myself, just being if it was my call, make it the first Monday in January. Taxes wouldn't be due until April. We got 3 months to let the thing ride, to compel the IRS to tell us what the actual tax is, to make all the decisions we're going to make. Once I know what the tax is, I know what my net is. Once I know what my net is, then I know what I'm working with.
And then the obvious, I think that's also been mentioned, with the fact that the holidays are Wednesdays this year, you'll be in touch with us one way or another if everything actually transpires.
I think the only way that I would get on a call on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or New Year's Day would be if literally the thing hit and someone had to say something, know. So, and as much as I'd hate being away from the family, I mean, the amount of currency I have, if this thing were to hit, I'd have no problem getting on the call.
And if it hits, we'll know. I mean, it's going to be kind of blasted all over the news.
Well, when it hits, what I'm saying is, when it hits, I mean, it's on the Forex. When it's on the Forex, that's when it's depending upon who you are, what your situation is. your age, all of that, that's when people will start hitting the bank. That's when people will be calling the banks. That's when the banks will be called. My phone's going to blow up and there'll be banks because they know who I am. You know,
and is that also the taxable timetable, the day it hits the Forex? That's when the whole quarter issue becomes real?
No, then now you're getting complicated here. No. Let's 988E2 of the Internal Revenue Code says, if the profit that you would realize from the exchange exceeds $200, you must pay the tax. So that's the problem with it occurring late in a quarter, because the tax is due whether you want to exchange it or not. So you're forced to sell it or exchange at least enough currency to pay. And imagine exchanging the currency to pay an ordinary income tax and then finding out it was actually only a cap gain, but you couldn't take that risk because the penalty is 100%. So that's why a reval in December, to me, would be, and of course it's the holiday season. Some people don't care about the holidays. I do. So once again, when I'm just personally for me, if someone said you want it tomorrow or you want it the first Monday in January, this is just me. I want it the first Monday in January. You know, everything's there's no complications at all. You know, and that'll give me time to plan what I'm going to do, what bank I'm going to, all of that stuff. So, and then enjoy the holidays. But that's just me. If it were me, I'd say first Monday in January is perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Certainly. Okay. Bye-bye now. Okay. Our next caller, if there is one, let's see. Yes, we have a caller here, area code 323. Area code 323. Yes.
Hi. Hi, Jim.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Sebastian from Los Angeles. Thank you so much for this information. We appreciate it.
Sure.
I know I am client for a long time, or maybe you remember me.
Yes, I certainly do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have two questions. One is, what do you think about the Zimbabwe dollar?
Well, if the ZIM were ever to go, it would be absolutely huge. I have a lot of ZIM, but to be honest with you, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that Zimbabwe's situation is going to resolve itself. I don't think we're going to be able to get much of anything for the ZIM we hold. That's just my personal opinion. It's technically a bond. There was a drop dead date on it, so there might be something, but in my opinion, very little. I have a number of currencies. ZIM is one of the currencies. If I had to get rid of one of the currencies, it would be the ZIM. But, again, that's just my opinion.
No, thank you so much. I respect your opinion because you are very informed. The other question is what's the best way to transfer to one of my families, my brother? I have assigned a certain amount of IQDs, and I have the letter notarized. After the RB, what would be the best way to transfer the money for him?
Wait a minute. You have his currencies?
I do have, yes. I do have some kind of. So yeah.
Okay. What needs to happen is he needs to give you a gift letter, gifting you the currencies for the purpose of placing them in trust. What you would then do, if you do not have it, is you need to establish the gift subtrust. What you will do is you will gift him those currencies back in the gift subtrust. So his money will be in the subtrust, which is part of the package, under your management. But then, of course, you could do whatever he wanted done with the money. When he wants a lump sum, you could give him a lump sum. If he tells you where he wants it invested, you could do that.
Oh, I see. Yeah, in my case, I bought it, so he doesn't show it. So he bought it. I bought it for him, but I have the letter already. Yeah, I bought it for him.
If your purchase order has your name on it, then you place that money in your trust, or you gift him his money afterward. And so, do you have the gift? Do you have the gift subtrust in your package?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. Well, then, what you will do is you will exchange his money along with your money, and then his money will go into the gift subtrust. Hold on a second. I need to send you. I hope I can. Hold on. Let me write this down. Do you mind giving me the? Well, I really don't want to do it online. Let me write down your number. Let me just call you after this call, okay? Because I have a couple of things I want to ask, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to release any information online, okay, on this call.
I appreciate
will call
that.
you. Okay? Okay. You take care now. Bye.
Thanks so much, Jim. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Certainly. Bye-bye now. Okay, I'm looking here. Have I missed anybody? I hope I haven't. There's so many numbers. These numbers, I don't know why this thing, they're jumping all around. The numbers are changing order. I've never seen this happen before. It's very squirrely. I believe I've answered all the calls. If I have not, I truly apologize for it. If I missed you, I strongly suggest you call me directly, and I'll get to your call as soon as I possibly can. But we're in a very good place right now with the Iraqi dinar because the right people are in charge in country. I really don't see this thing going past January. And for the reasons I've stated, I actually hope it doesn't happen until January. But we certainly will see. Our next call will, of course, be next Wednesday. Certainly if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Have a great week. Bye-bye now.